Hello, welcome to the Term Census Report training video. In this video, we'll be using this report to outline the steps that we take to answer the questions. What has the trend been in new first-time freshman student enrollment in your program during the fall quarter in the last 5 years? What about the last 10 years? Has there been growth or contraction of all new students, graduate and undergraduate, in your program for the last 10 completed years annually? The report may look slightly different due to new developments, but we're hoping that by showing our steps on how we can use this report to answer these questions, it will give you a sense of how this report could help you. Let's get started. Here, we can see what the report looks like when we first open it. If your screen looks a little different than mine, that's okay. You should have access to the same Power BI tools and report functionality. But please reach out if you still have any questions after watching this video. On the far left, we have the Power BI General Navigation tools, and next to that, we have the report. On the top, we have some Power BI report specific tools. We have the Reset to Default button, the Bookmark tool, the View Options tool, the Refresh Visuals button, and an option to favorite this report. Below that, we can see the report and that it is broken into two parts, a section for slicers and a section for data visualizations. We have a number of slicers that we can apply, and we have the data represented in multiple forms. We should also note that the data in this report is refreshed after the completion of each term's 10th day census. Let's consider which page and slicers we will use to focus the data visualization and answer our questions. Starting on the Overview page, this page provides a high-level view of current enrollments at Seattle University. We should note that the Overview page defaults to highlighting the most recently updated term, which is currently 21 spring quarter. However, while this page works well as a dashboard for current term enrollment at the university, we'll need to move to a page more focused toward our question, which is about trends. Let's click on the New Students Trend page in the Page column. On this page, we can see that there is now a set of slicers at the top of the page, and a line graph visualization below. Let's start applying slicers toward our first question. Starting with the term group slicer, we can see that spring has been set as the default, so we will need to adjust that. Let's click on the arrow here to bring down the drop-down menu, deselect spring, and then select fall to apply it. We can see that the visualization below has adjusted to the splicer changes, so let's click outside of the slicer box to close it. Looking at the academic year slicer, we're looking at the last 5 years of fall quarters, so we'll need to refine it from all to the past 5 academic years. We'll click here to open the slicer and select 5 of the most recent academic years, which currently is 2020-21 to 2016-17. We can see that the visualization changed with each year applied, and the slicer also now reads multiple selections. We can open it up again to confirm what we've selected, and then click outside of it to close it again. Next, we'll open the Admit Status slicer and select First Time Freshman to apply it, and the visualization has changed again. Finally, this would be the chance to apply any slicers toward focusing the report to your program within the question, which you can do through the School, Department, and Major Program slicers here. We will not be applying either of them in this training video, but if we did, other schools, departments, or programs would be removed from the visualization. It looks like we're now at a point where we will be able to answer our first question. So let's put a bookmark here. We'll click on the Bookmark tool here, and then click on Add a Personal Bookmark. And we'll title it 5-Year Trend, Fall, FTF, on today's date. And then we'll click on Save. The reason why I recommend that the date be a part of the bookmark title is that the 5-year trend will change every fall term, and we may update the bookmark with a new date when that happens. We can now see the new bookmark. Looking at the second question, there isn't much that we'd need to change in terms of the slicers. The term group slicer should still be set to fall, admit status should still be set to freshman, and the school, department, and major program should be set according to your needs. So all we need to do is adjust academic year. When we open it up right now, it should have 2020-21 to 2016-17 still set. So we would just need to add 5 more years. Let's scroll through and select the years from 2015-16 to 2011-12, and then close the slicer. We can see that the visualization has adjusted, and that the bottom of the visualization shows each academic year, from 2011-12 to 2020-21. This visualization looks to answer our second question. So let's follow the same process to create a bookmark. We'll click on the bookmark button, click on Add a Personal Bookmark, title it 10 Years, Fall, FTF on today's date. Click on Save, and double check that it appears here. One thing to note is that there isn't much space in the bookmarks column, so I've made sure to put the important information at the front of the bookmark, just to make sure it isn't cut off. If I ever wanted to change the bookmark's name, I could click on the ellipses button on the right and select Rename. But it doesn't look like I'll need to do that today. Clicking through the 2 bookmarks, I can see the trends of all programs across the 5-year mark and the 10-year mark. Again, I can see all of the programs here because I've not set anything in the school, department, or major program slicers. So if you've applied them, you would only see one line instead of many. Let's move on to our final question. To answer this question, we'll need to review some of the slicers we've applied and reconsider how they're applied to this question. First, looking at the term group slicer, we know that we're looking at the full academic year, not just fall, so we have 2 options. I could just open it and click on Select All to choose everything to make a full academic year, or I could just click on the eraser to clear the slicer. The default for Power BI is to show all data. If you clear or erase the term group slicer, it will default to showing all terms. You can select all terms yourself, but the result will be equivalent, meaning it will show information for all terms either way. In this case, we'll click on the eraser to clear it, just for simplicity's sake and managing visually what slicers are on. Next, let's look at the academic year slicer. As of the time of this recording, the spring term 10th day census has recently passed. We can see that the data for this report was updated on April 29th, 2021. That means we can consider this quarter for the question, which means that we can consider the 2020-21 academic year in our last 10 completed academic years, and we do not need to make any adjustments to this slicer. If we look at the visualization below, we can now confirm 10 completed academic years, starting in 2011-12 and ending in 2020-21. Finally, we'll need to adjust our slicers to include both graduate and undergraduate students. To do so, let's clear the Admit Status slicer here by clicking on this eraser. This will clear our selections from the slicer so that we're not only looking at first-time freshmen. We can see that the visualization has adjusted. Next, let's look at the academic level slicer. If we open it up, we can see 2 options, undergraduate and graduate, which is part of our question. Pop quiz. Do I need to click on any or both of these options in the slicer to apply them toward our question? The answer is no. If I click on either of these, it would refine the data below toward either option. If I click on both options, I am then refining my search to both options, which would be everything. To keep things simple, I will not make any adjustments to this slicer. It looks like we've now found a visualization that would help us answer our question. We can see the growth and contraction trends across each program, and we can confirm that there are 10 academic years below. Again, we're seeing all schools here because no specific schools, departments, or major programs have been set. But if you have, your visualization may be different. Let's add a bookmark here. Following the same process, we'll click on the bookmark button, add a personal bookmark. We'll title it 10 completed years, all students, on today's date. Click on Save, and double check that it has been added. It looks like we found the information that answers our questions. So let's look at exporting the data. To export the data of this report, we have two options. If we want to export all of the data of the complete report, we'll click on the export option here, and then we'll be able to choose from three different options, as a PowerPoint, PDF, or Excel document. However, doing so would export the entire report, which could lead to pages and pages of data. Instead, let's focus on exporting the data in this table instead. If we click on the More Options section of a table that we want to focus on, we can see another option to export data. If we click on that, we'll be given options to customize the export, and by clicking on the Export button, we'll be prompted on where we want to save the data. Let's open the exported file. We can see that there's a lot of data being represented in just this table, so an export of the entire report would be much larger. Each export option supports different purposes, but knowing about both options could be helpful in deciding which export option to go with. In this case, exporting the focus table would be much more manageable than the entire report. Thank you for taking the time to watch this training video. For more information, be sure to check the Inform SU training pages and the report infographic, manual, and glossary. We're working hard to build out more content aimed at specific reports, so please send any questions, comments, or feedback to informsu@seattleu.edu. Thank you again from the Inform SU team, and good luck!